What's going on, man? How you doing, man?
Good to see you.
All right. It's been like 10 years, man.
10? Yeah, about that. 88. Because at that time, that's when hip hop started taking that little change. I say in 88, the whole dance scene, the whole club scene was completely different from the way it is today. At that time, it was more integrated. The New York City clubs was playing a little bit of everything. At that time, we had a melting pot of music. You had your R&B, you had your hip hop, you had your freestyle, you had your house, you had hip house at that time, and you could play all these different forms of music in the club. Whereas today, you can't. They either want to hear hip hop and R&B, or you have clubs that just want to play house. The most progressive clubs are your Latin clubs, because they still play a wide range of music.
English and Spanish.
Yeah, you know. But whereas the majority of the black clubs or the urban clubs, they just want to play one or two forms of music. Hip hop, R&B, oh, can't forget dance hall. Boom. You play a house record, they stop, they look at you like, what you doing, DJ? You know, you throw something on that they're not familiar with. If it's not on radio, they also look at you like you're crazy. And 3 or 4 weeks later, they be requesting a record. But back then in 88, it was like a melting pot of music. DJs played everything for, as you said, rock, which we used to call dance-orientated rock at that time.
And Blondie.
Yeah, Blondie and
Human League.
Yeah, Human League. That was A&M. Groups like that that had that beat.
Right.
Also,
It was almost like new wave in a way, but it still had the hip urban taste to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Everybody want to rule the world, shit like that. You know, today though, it's completely different. But going back to that time, my man said your music sounded like Prince because at that time we was influenced by all these different forms of music. You know, then in 88 though, I see that as a time when hip hop really took a change.
Right.
KRS came on the scene. Brothers getting killed out in Bensonhurst and shit like that. Bernard Getz, and there was a feeling on the street whereas, you know, people getting tired of this shit. And KRS, I credit him with being the first one to come out with some sort of direction for the people to make them aware of all the bullshit that was going on. Then also around that time, Public Enemy, you know, so it became more hip-hop. That's the time when hip-hop became conscious. Like with me, I've been running the record pool for the last 21 years. And I have noticed there's a big change in the DJs of yesterday and today. For example, the DJ of today, you know, he would say, well, I just play hip-hop or R&B. The DJ of yesterday, as I said earlier, will play everything. Right. You know, the DJ of today do not like house or freestyle. DJ of yesterday, he enjoy it because he remember going to the clubs and hearing it. But the DJ of today, they have not had the experience. Well, the rappers of today are much more fortunate than the rappers of yesterday. But see, that's how the music industry is. Every next generation of artists benefit from the previous generation. Today, there's more millionaires, I feel, recording artists than any other time in the past. When did we ever hear about recording artists going out to the Hampton and paying $30,000 a week for rental of a mansion? You never heard of that shit. But today, we hear about it. Jay-Z, I mean, that's nothing. You know, when did we ever hear of a black record label, which you haven't been that many, but there have been some. The biggest one that comes to mind was Motown Records. Now, I don't think Motown or Barry was paid as much as Russell Simmons was for Def Jam compared to Motown, you know? So, in a way, hip-hop has helped a lot of people to achieve higher financial status than at any other time. Well, so there's a positive and there's a negative. Many of those same people putting money back into the community. You know, So it's almost like a catch-22 predicament. You know, whereas the artists today still need to use their brains by having a lawyer, but then again, if they request too much, they may not get a deal. They may say, well, fuck you, you out the door. We take that one over here. And then again, it's rough when you've been busting your ass in a recording studio and here Major gonna say, well, we're gonna give you $125,000 budget, a $250,000 budget. You taking that money? I'm like, get me! What the fuck, I signed? This is more money than you have ever seen in your life. You know, and that's what it all boils down to, money. And then it comes out to, what do you do with that money? Do you burn all that money up in the recording studio? Or do you build yourself a studio and save some money and take that money and reinvest it back into your life? Buy your family a house. Buy things that have value. Not go out there and buy a Rolex watch or some gold, but something that you could sit back years later and say, well, at least I got this from my time as a recording artist. You know, so it's still up to the individual artist to use their brains.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the S.U.R.E record pool. The S.U.R.E record pool been around a long time before I walked in the doors.
21 years
right.
This year.
And I guess I probably first walked in here maybe in '85.
Young, slim dude with his head up like this, know everything. Couldn't tell him anything. A sense of pride and very knowledgeable, and had a sense of direction. See, that's what S.U.R.E always been about, spotting talent and helping that talent grow. A lot of DJs that have come from the pool now either work for radio stations or major labels or have their own labels, etc., etc. And you came in at that time, and I noticed, this young man got a head on his shoulder. He's going to go far. Didn't know which direction, because at that time you was really into wanting to be an artist, but you was very smart as an artist, because if I'm not mistaken, you was dealing with B-Boy Records, but you said, those motherfuckers full of shit. And you was one of the artists, as I sit here and think, see, I'm as big as an elephant with a memory like one, too. But you was one of the artists that came into the office that was aware of the business side of the music industry. Not just the artistic side, but the business side. So I knew you was going to go far.